this is a lot of boring information. His appearance varied, one depiction being John Leech's illustration, I get the shit out of this, which now you get into, now some people still say this, I used to say this when I was a kid, Father Christmas, which Father Christmas dates back as far as the 16th century in England, during the reign of Henry VIII, when he was pictured as a large man in a green or scarlet robe lined with fur. He typified the spirit of good cheer at Christmas, bringing peace, joy, good food, and wine, and revelry. Which revelry means to fucking party, dude, and to fuck hard. Typified. What did I say, typified? He typified. During the Middle Ages, often on the evening before his name day of 6 December, children were bestowed gifts in his honor. In the Middle Ages, that's when kids started getting gifts, all right? We're still not the farthest back. We're in the fucking Middle Ages now, and kids are just now getting gifts. We got a long way to go. As the legend of St. Nicholas spread through Europe, it mingled with local folklore. In different countries, he took on various attributes of local winter figures, such as the English Father Christmas, their Germanic god Woden, and the Dutch Sinterklaas. These figures were often portrayed as cheerful and benevolent, bringing a more joyful demeanor to the character. You notice how I said a more joyful demeanor to the character? A more joyful demeanor to a god. Where do you think that means we're going? Let's keep going back in time. The earliest depictions of St. Nicholas is in the 4th century, dude. All right, that's like 300 to 400 AD. That's where we're at. Like Rome is still a thing. Julius Caesar Rome type shit. It's still going on. Christianity by this point is so new that it's probably like what we almost assume like vegan bakeries are today, where it's like kind of hip still, but people are like, we get it. Right? In the earliest depictions of St. Nicholas, the 4th century bishop, who was the primary inspiration for Santa Claus, portrayed him as a stern, thin religious figure, often in bishop's robes, and these images were more solemn and aligned with the role of a Christian saint. So he's not jolly, he's fucking cold, he's thin, and he's just like, God loves me, and you better love him back. Okay? It is believed that Nicholas was born sometime around 280 AD, somewhere around there, in Patara, near Myra, in modern-day Turkey. That's where he came from. Saint name. Why did we remember it? I think that got smudged up in the history books a bit, right? Much admired for his piety and kindness, St. Nicholas became the subject of many legends. It is said that he gave away all of his inherited wealth and traveled the countryside helping the poor and sick. One of the best-known St. Nicholas stories is the time he saved 3 poor sisters from being sold into slavery or prostitution by their father by providing them with a dowry so that they could be married. You want a Coke yet? You want those polar bears just come sliding in yet? Remember St. Nicholas, who's like basically Buddha? It's like a literal story of Buddha who gave away his wealth to a motherfucker sat under a tree, but St. Nicholas is just like, you could pay for the pussy or you could marry her. So there you go. People are like, are you an angel? He's like, kinda. Sure. That is the earliest conception of St. Nick. So we have the Coca-Cola St. Nick. This is where we're at, right? This is where we ended up. Everyone did that game of telephone with each other. They're like, he's like a tall religious guy. And by the end of it, they're just like, he's fat and he's so happy about it. He's a fat fuck and he's so happy about it. We're here, but we started here. Honestly, it could have gone worse. Obviously, everyone likes to make like when you want to grab his bacon and stuff. This guy I'm kind of afraid of. This guy here is the guy who's just like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you if I hear your names. Also, please don't pay for that pussy. You can marry her. But in between that time too, like I said, Santa came in around the 4th century, and I think people were just like, too fucking happy. By this time, people are like, we need some punishment. We need the fear of God being put to people. Which also, that's when, on the opposite side of Europe, Krampus came in. Which you might have heard of Krampus. You know, he's been in some movies lately. But Krampus came in around the 6th or 7th century, stretching back to pre-Christian Alpine traditions. I don't know what that is. I'm going to put it up on the screen very quickly. You can pause it if you want. With their celebrations involving Krampus dating back, like I said, the 6th to 8th century AD. Before 1000 hit, dude. Think about that. Before there was even a year 1000, they had this monstrosity come out. Krampus is thought to come from either Bavarian Krampen, meaning dead, rotten, or from the German Kramp or Krampen, meaning claw. How fun. It really is a beautiful time of year. Dead, rotten, claw, he's evil. Though there are no written sources before the end of the 16th century about it. Okay? You know, just speculations. Do you guys remember those, being in school and your teacher would reel in the TV and you'd be like, yo, we're not doing class today. We're gonna watch whatever's on the TV. And it's eyewitness, exactly. And they had you like go into that fucking that meeting. Krampus is traditionally associated with the Christmas season and is particularly celebrated on December 5th during the Krampusnacht, or Krampus night, which beforehand, like we said, back then, St. Nicholas' Day was December 6th. So the day before, you had to pay offerings to essentially the devil at that time and be like, please don't come and get us, please. In the folklore, Krampus serves as a counterpart to St. Nicholas. While St. Nicholas rewards good children, Krampus punishes those who have misbehaved, which we tried to touch on this because a lot of this is common sense. But nowadays, if you're a bad kid, if you're a bad kid back then, like a 7-foot tall ghost man come to get you. Okay? And back then too, there was no iPads or phones to, verify, or if anything, they're just like, you believed everything you heard. That would have been horrifying to hear as a child. Did you eat my chocolate? No. You know if you lie, Krampusnacht's going to come and get you, right? Yeah, I know. And you'd just be panic attacks. It's like the only time in history where like an abundance of like 6-year-olds die of heart attacks probably because they're so afraid. Krampus is often depicted as demonic, goat-like creature with horns, dark hair, fangs, and a long tongue. He typically carries chains and a bundle of birch sticks for punishing naughty children. He's gonna go into your house and see your kid's at, and you get a kid with chains and sticks and a long fucking tongue. Come on, dude. Put the fucking pieces together there. Pick 'em. In many regions, there are traditional parades and events known as Krampusnacht, which is Krampus Run, where people dress up as Krampus to scare spectators, continuing ancient pagan rituals. This is fucked up because it's reminding me of that Borat bit, where it's the running of the Jew, which we won't put that up for reasons. In recent years, there has been a revival of Krampus traditions and increased global recognition, partly due to popular culture and social media. Yeah, nowadays we like to, we have to have fun with it because they're just like, I'm naughty. I'm like Santa Claus is too PG. I'm a dirty bitch. I want to, have my Krampus and have him whip me with a fucking chain. The look of Krampus, he was originally scary, demonic figure, like I said, with dark fur, he had the long horns, pointed tongue, sharp fangs, and chains, and he was rooted in the pre-Christian Alpine folklore. Don't know what the Christian Alpine folklore is. Once again, it sounds like some kind of like scented thing you put on your rear window. In post-World War II, some European countries softened Krampus' image to be less frightening for children, making it more mischievous with fewer demonic features, but retaining the voice. You're like, okay, this is too much. I like how it's like even the First World War, they're just like, leave it. Yeah, you know what's more fucking evil? Humanity. And then right around World War II, they're just like, we should probably we gotta just soften it up a little bit. It's like nice to jump to it. Maybe get rid of the chains. The kid's like, oh, thank God, I can sleep at night. Krampus' appearances varies regionally from goat-like to more human traits, with costumes made from local materials like wood, fur, and bells. And parades of Krampusnacht display diverse Krampus costumes from traditional to modern, illustrating the character's evolving image across the year. Which I just want to say, the best depiction of Krampus ever was in that 2016 Krampus horror movie. It looks fucking sick. It's like Santa's face skinned. You don't ever see his real. It's awesome. He's hunched over. Just want to say that one's the best. It's the best ever. I mean, that puts us to the end. I mean, Santa came from the 3rd or 4th century, dude. That's fucking insane. Going back through, which Santa would I like to have? No, I don't want Krampus. Honestly, I want like 1950 Santa, I think. First introduced to the mall. Big jolly guy. He's simple. He's one thing. He's not mixed up in a bunch of crazy shit. We're not seeing him on cell phones. Alright. You said that, not me. Alright. Okay. He is of a softer complexion, but that isn't really swaying my... I'm just saying that it makes me think of... It's what has been ingrained in our brains, and I feel like everybody wants the 1950s Santa Claus. Everybody likes that. As you go into your holiday season, for those celebrating Christmas or Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, just remember when you see St. Nicholas, all of the trials and tribulations that humanity had to go through to get him to be that image that you're seeing today. But most importantly, these holidays are, a celebration of Santa Claus. It's a time to celebrate yourself and your family. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your holidays. If it's fucking blistering cold, I hope it's a little warmer for you that day. I hope you all have gotten each other some amazing gifts and you're feeling just as charitable as anyone else that you would hope to receive gifts from. So from here at the Papa Meat channel, and Meat Cannon or whatever, happy holidays everyone and stay safe. Take care.
Me neither. You didn't like the Easter egg one?
No, the only thing I liked, I thought the abominable snowman, I think I had a statue of him.
He scared me as a kid.
Everything's scary.
I have active psoriatic arthritis, but with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, count me in. Along with clearer skin, Skyrizi helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur.
One of the worst ones of 2023 will be Children of the Corn remake, I promise you. It's not going to be fun bad, it's going to be forgettable and awful. That's my prediction. Stinks like... Welcome back to the Papa Meat channel. How you doing? How you doing? Come on in and sit on down. Today we are talking about a movie that I watched that may be the worst remake of all time. Children of the Corn 2023. Now this is a remake of, well, it's like a reimagining almost of the original 1984 movie Children of the Corn, which was based off of Stephen King's short story from 1977 called Children of the Corn. So a lot of source material going back and forth, but just know this movie is, I wouldn't say it's extremely different from the original, but it's like, you know, they kind of just took the name, I think, to sell the movie, but it is what it is. But usually when I review movies and stuff like that, I always try to find the merits and the good out of stuff. Not everything's just a huge steaming pile of shit. You know, how many times people say like, oh, it's the worst movie I've ever seen, and it's like, it just was a kind of forgettable movie. This, unironically, might be one of the worst movies I've ever seen. From poor pacing of a movie, terrible acting, bad writing.
Amazing.
Party hard. Fight me.
The lighting was just really off the whole time, and then it builds up to absolutely nothing. But I wanted to talk about it because there are some funny spots, and I think it's funny to put it out there. So even if you don't watch the movie, at least you get a little bit of a digestible version that you can laugh at. It's pretty fun. And before we get into any spoilers, in case anybody's like, hey, you ruined the Children of the Corn 2023 movie for me. I give it a 1 out of 10, maybe, just because they were able to press record on the camera. I have nothing really good to say about this, so, you know, there it is. You know, you can have your own metric of judgment. I know, what the fuck you. So this is all gonna sound very, very nonsensical. And when I tell you this, and you're like, man, his review was all over the place, because that's how the movie is. Alright? I'm gonna give you kind of a stream of thoughts of how this movie folded out, and it's gonna sound bad. It's not gonna sound like it makes a lot of sense. Welcome to my world, dude. Watching this movie last night. Me and my buddy Nick, he's the editor of the channel. I'll put a nice picture of yourself here. And we're watching this movie, and it's the kind of movie where you get to yell at the screen. It's a fun movie to watch with people. Don't watch it by yourself. Watch it with people to where you guys can like openly yell at the screen, Mystery Science Theater style, and just have a good time with it. It's one of those kinds of movies. But before we get into this absolute corn maze of a movie, today's video is sponsored by GamerSupps. Now, when I'm in the need for a little gaming boost, I grab a nice little packet of titty milk here, and I begin to shake. The bottle, not the other. But if titty milk's not your style, I like the Blue Raz or the Mango Meta. But that's not all GamerSupps has to offer. They just introduced new nutrition bars in case you need to have a little snack while you're gaming. In case you're like, I'm hungry, maybe a DoorDash. No! Nutritional bar good, DoorDash bad. But there's something even better. The new Waifu Cups are available to purchase at 2 p.m. Central starting right now. Or download the app and buy it at 1:40 p.m. Central if you're a tryhard. Last time one of these Waifu Cups released, they all sold out in about 5 hours. So if I were you, I'd get there before the hair. And also, you'll get a free Waifu Cup with the purchase of any one of these little tubs filled with delicious little powders. And use promo code PAPAMEAT at checkout to get yourself 10% off your order. Hey. You're welcome. Thank you for GamerSupps for sponsoring the video, and back to the video. We should probably talk about what the original 1984 movie is, because there's been numerous sequels. There's been a lot. So it was weird when I was like, wow, 2023 remake of Children of the Corn is kind of odd. So the original film is, I would say, very reminiscent of the original Wicker Man, where it's like, it's more spiritual in nature. It's kind of like children in Nebraska have killed all of the adults in their town. And we're kind of following 2 characters that are driving across country, and they kind of just stumble across this little town in Nebraska, and they find that, oh wow, all the kids are in this weird religious cult that they're going to kill these 2 new adults to ensure a bountiful harvest of corn. And they all worship a person called He Who Walks Behind the Rose. It's kind of cool. But whenever these people come across the country and they start to experience all the crazy things, it's already established. Like, they come down and the town is already taken over by these kids. It's really creepy just seeing a bunch of, like, inbred fucking mutants from Nebraska. Kids, you can overpower them, but they have, like, sickles. They kind of just all look really like Deliverance country, you know, like that weird inbred kind of country. They all have that vibe. And they're all ruled by this, like, little religious figure named Isaac. And Isaac is, like, I think he's an older dude. I think he was like 20-something when they filmed this, but he's just like, he looks like a child, like a head look kind of thing. I don't really know. But the whole movie accumulates to like a lot of like weird religious aspects to the movie, and how all the kids are like under this like weird mind control, and they're all like sunk into this perception of religious chaos and having to do right by the man who walks behind the rows and stuff. Elements of sacrifice, just a lot of like religious elements. It's not the best movie in the world, but it's fine. It's cohesive, you know, it makes sense. So to transition that little conversation into the Children of the Corn 2023 movie, it's a bit daunting, I think. It's so polar opposite. The only thing that they kept in the new 2023 Children of the Corn is that some kids kill people. Other than that, I mean, even the monster, that he who walks on the roads, they just call him he who walks.
What is that?
Leave the old ways behind.
Useless artifact now.
With the Elastic AI Assistant, you can find answers to your security problems in real time.
I want to do my part to do something that is sustainable.
If I see a problem, you just ask the question and you bring.
Is it just a man? The corn head? And also you get like a corn monster really early reveal in the movie, which is weird. Now, I'm gonna try to remember this movie from memory. This is gonna be hard. The movie basically starts off with our 12-year-old antagonist. She's kind of the co-lead of the movie. She's the new Isaac. Her name is Eden. Ooh, big change up. A little girl that's now becomes a little boy. I mean, that's gonna flip people on their head thinking about that. We're gonna flip people on their head. It starts off with her rebellious, supposed to be 17, but played by like a 28-year-old actor who is like killing people at a daycare or something. They don't really allude to it. He's just like, he kind of just walks up to her and he's covered in blood. And he's just like, by the way, nothing really dies in the corn. Which, what does that even mean? That's like one of the first lines of the movie. Nothing really dies in the corn. So we're left with that cryptic message, and then we get a nice montage of him stabbing people, and then it cuts to some townsfolk with a hose leading to a window, and then it's just a bunch of dead kids. And you're kind of like, why did they gas those children? It's never really said why. I think it's like an orphanage maybe or something. And then the pastor of the town, which you don't find he's a pastor until 25 minutes into the movie. He's just kind of a random man, comes in, and he's like, I'm gonna be your new dad, Eden. You're gonna come stay with me. And you're like, wow, I wonder if he's a pedophile. So she's sitting there talking to this guy in this room, and she's like messing with a puzzle, and she can't get the piece in. She's like, God dang! She's like messing out, you know. And this is where the director's like, oh, we're showing her that she's erratic. But then the pastor just turns the puzzle upside down, and she's like, oh, I get it. And she puts the piece in, but it's like, couldn't you just flip the puzzle piece upside down? And then that's when we first also introduced this Alice in Wonderland meme, where she's just like, oh, I'm the Red Queen, and it's so on the nose of like, oh, I'm gonna be tyrannical like the Red Queen. Yeah, I like the Red Queen. She says Red Queen so much, and then after a while, the next time we see her, she's wearing the red wig. But then she also literally says, oh, I'm the Red Queen. So it's like the director's just like, God, I don't understand what we're trying to go for here. Then cut to our new protagonist, Bo, and her brother. Bo's our new protagonist. She is a girl with a tiny head and a big bushy hair, and the only range of acting she has this entire film is to look flabbergasted and like she's about to cry the entire time. Even in these, she looks like she's on the verge of tears. She's kind of given this arc of like, she's very mad about the corn. Oh, this stuff is synthetic. It's put over the corn. Don't even touch it. It's bad for you.
Cut it out. Stop playing with that stuff, okay?
All this stuff is pesticide. It's gross. It'll kill you. And then the brother has this like weird fascination with this small ass Nebraska town. He's like, you hate this town. You hate it here. You know what? Whatever. And they pretty much end up in an area where all these kids are playing, and they're sitting there and they're busting out all these windows to this car. I mean, like just shattering them. That's in the middle of a cornfield also. Why is that parked there? Then there's a corn silo, and then at the top of it is a plane. He's like, come on, let me down, guys. And the Red Queen, remember her? She's like, oh, you made your dog sick, so you're punished to death. And it's supposed to be like a cute game, but it feels very real because a child comes up behind him with a giant drill bit, and he's stabbing him. It's supposed to be like, haha, yeah, like poking him, but the sound effect they use is like, it sounds like he's puncturing his skin. It's like, he's like, ow, and everybody is laughing. Bo sitting there. She still looks like she's about to cry. So you don't know if what kind of emotion she's feeling here because she's looked this way the entire film. And then an older guy comes out wearing a hood. I think he has like a fuck face or something, even though it just looks like a patchy beard. And he's like, "What's going on here? What the hell's happening?
What in friction are you doing on my grandma's car?
What did you guys do to my grandma's car?" Car that they busted out. It's just like, why is your grandma's car parked out here? Anyways, he ends up being like, what's happening? What's going on here? And they're like, "Oh, we're playing a game. We're gonna push this kid off this fucking silo that's like 100 feet up in the air into a stack of corn stalks," which I don't, if you're listening to anybody who didn't grow up around a farm or something, right? Corn stalks are hard. They're very thick. So you can beat the shit out of somebody with a corn stalk. So for him to jump into that, I mean, I feel like he would just break every fucking bone. It's not gonna be like a cushioned landing. It's gonna be like he's falling into a goddamn stack of steel bars, as it were. But before the little boy is able to be stabbed in the gut and pushed off this plank, he's like, "Light the corn stalks on fire and let him fall and burn in the fire." And you're like, "God damn, dude, Jesus Christ." Luckily, Bo's there to be like, "Hey, there's all these chemicals in the air. If you light that thing, this whole cornfield's gonna burn." That's how it felt when I was watching it. It's like, I wonder how this movie's gonna end. I wonder if a fire's gonna happen in the cornfield. Probably not. That'd be a bit odd. So Eden's sitting there. She kind of looks like a small Jay Leno. That's what I was thinking the whole time. Kind of looks like a tiny little Jay Leno. She's sitting there and she just gives like a and then it just cuts. The scene just cuts, and now the fuck-faced kid and Bo are walking down the road, and they're just talking about memories. And it's like, okay, well, what happened with the kid who's getting stabbed in the spleen? But as Bo and her fuck-faced friends are walking down the road, they find like a rusty sword, and then the fuck-faced kid just says, "Oh, it's been a while since we played pirates." And you're like, "You just found a sword, and that's just supposed to, remember when we used to play with this? Really?" And then he just takes it and throws it in the cornfield. And once again, he's like, "Oh, well, I mean, times sure have changed with the sword. You know this." Anyways, I'm just gonna toss it in the cornfield. I know this movie's called Children of the Corn. I'm sure that sword will never come up again. So like back to back, it's just two giant like, "Hey, we're foreshadowing. This is what foreshadowing is." And as the sword lands into the cornfield, we get our first reveal of the corn monster, the supernatural thing, which is fine, I guess. But it's like, wouldn't you want it to be a little bit more ambiguous of like, oh, are these children going insane? But no, it's just like, oh no, yep, there's a corn monster. It wraps around the sword, which you're like, if that was the only visual of the sword, and it would just serve that purpose of revealing the monster, that's fine. But she used it to stab the corn monster's head linger. So we'll get to that soon. Then as Bo's walking away, she's by herself. There's like a fake up jump scare where the music goes completely silent and she's like looking in the corn. You can kind of see the corn monster in there, but it's blending in a bit. It was just one of those things like, why isn't the corn monster just attacking her? Why wouldn't it be? Is it because she's a kid? I don't know, but she looks like she's 37. But she's supposed to be 17 here. But we cut back into town and Bo is walking, and we get the most obnoxious fucking jump scare of all time. What? I couldn't even hear what the brother said. He was just like, to the sister. He said something, but it's mixed so loud that it's the most obnoxious jump scare where you're just tracking your sister from the cornfield all the way back here without saying anything to her, just to do this jump scare in the neighborhood. Okay. So this is where we get a lot of exposition. We get a lot of really boring backstory. His brother, once again, is like, this town, nobody even cares about this town. Shows all these like businesses that are closed down and stuff. He's like, no one cares. No one's gonna open up the feed shop again. How are we gonna feed our ducks? And then you see a shot of them, I think it's their mom. You see some people on a truck, and it's like, that's mom or dad? I don't know. Anyways, you see Bo and her angry brother's dad walking into the town meeting. And Bo's like, well, let's go in there and see what's going on. And basically the town meeting, dad says that they're gonna subsidize all the corn, and that they will be planting corn no longer because the corn is dead, dying. So the whole subsidization, which subsidization is the government pays you. That's basically the whole thing. But the government would be paying them to not grow corn. They don't really say what's going to happen with all the fields. They're just like, the government will pay us to not grow corn. Which I'm not a farmer, so maybe this is some real shit that I don't know, but it just sounds odd. They don't say like, yeah, they're going to be putting in malls or like new stores. And that would be a disruption to the rural nature of the town. No, he's just like, yeah, the corn's dying, so they're going to subsidize not to grow corn. No more corn we get paid for. And everyone in town is just like, I would love to not grow corn. The amount of times they say corn in this scene is really, really funny. Corn. The corn's dead here. So you know what, fine, you know what, I'm going to go down to Florida with this new subsidized corn. So all the adults do a vote who wants the subsidization to be high. And I'll say aye. And everyone's all happy. And then there comes Jay like, not everybody voted.
Except everyone hasn't voted.
Who didn't vote? Us kids. And then there's a really funny shot with 3 people sitting in one pier, like a really tiny stand. It's like, why are you guys standing in there like that? Just stand around. Like, you don't have to. It's not like it's a fucking, like, a magical rule that if you don't stand on the podium. You know, it's just weird. But they're like, you know what? It's their town, too. They should be able to vote. And then the adults just kind of just bully the shit out of these kids. Well, I think you go home and play with your toys. Okay, there we go. I mean, the best part of this bullying process is they're like, oh, you're all babies. What would we ask you? And they're like laughing in their faces. It's really funny. But then, like, dad, he's like, especially you. When it's like this kid just kind of like, me? He's like, I'll deal with you.
Not everyone's life runs in straight lines. At Sophia, we get that. Our flexible, affordable, self-paced, college-level courses help thousands of people just like you complete their degrees for only $99 a month.
Staples Tech delivers an extensive range of high-performing, reliable essentials for today's tech to keep you productive.
You just wait till I get home. You just wait, boy. Yeah, that part is so funny. So yeah, they're all pissed off now, and then the only people that really have anything against it is the pastor. Like, oh, religious stuff. And Bo's like,
you guys aren't even fighting for the crop, for the corn. The corn never had a chance.
I was still laughing too hard still from the barrage of insults that the adult give that I kind of blacked out. But eventually she's like, this is a poopy decision. This decision is poop. And then she just leaves. After this, Bo goes, meets up with Fuckface and the 2 other friends, the 2 other goons that were sitting in the podium. And she's like, oh, I called a reporter to do a North News story on this to blow the whole lid off this operation. Because people aren't going to be growing corn in this town anymore. And the reporter's like, fine, I'll come. Which is, goddamn, must be a rough news week if that's the only story you got. But she's like, all right, fine, I'll be there. She's getting her makeup all made up and stuff. So then, are you experiencing signs of hair loss? So Bo walks into the cornfield. She stumbles her way to the cornfield, and all of the children in town, including her brother, they dug up like a huge pit. Like, I mean, this would probably take, I would imagine, not days. It would a long time. And they have a dead pig in there, and they're painting the inside of the crops, and they're all of them are covered in blood, and they're painting it. And she's like, what the hell is this? What is this stuff? And then little Jay Leno is like, blood. That's kind of what she says. This is where we start getting to like metaphorical talk of Jay Leno really starts being like, he who walks is hungry or needs a sacrifice. And she's like, okay, well, this is weird. Well, how about we get all the people together and go to Town's Hall instead? Why would we go there? Oh, because we're going to do a trial. And they kind of are like, okay, well, we'll meet you later. We'll meet you later. We'll, talk with all the people. So then it's nightfall, and Bo, her dad, and the angry brother are sitting in the living room. Once again, she looks like she's been crying for 7-8 hours. She looks out the window and she sees all these kids running. But one of the kids stops with a flashlight, and she holds the flashlight up to her face. Granted, 100 yards away, I mean, far. Imagine somebody football field length distance from you. What are they doing? She shines a flashlight up to her face, and they do that really cheap thing that a lot of like found footage movies do, where like they stretch the, where they do this. She holds the flashlight up to her face, and she does that abruptly. It's so out of nowhere where you're like, wait, what the fuck? There's been no other super, even like the corn monster, it was just vines. Like, this is, okay, so it's just a weird paranormal element, and guess what? Never happens again. Weird face, never again. Doesn't happen again. Pretty fun. This causes her to basically freak out. She starts looking around, she gets all scared, she cries a little more. It's 9 o'clock when that scene happens, and then there's an hour-and-a-half time jump. Really gotta make sure that you show that 10 story to that hour-and-a-half is important. And the dad is chained up, and they go back to Town Hall. The kids take him to Town Hall, and they hang that guy. The guy that was laughing with people, so the little kid's face, they hang him. So they have this like major jump. And at this point, you're just kind of like, why are the kids mad? Really? I mean, they got bullied a little bit, but is any of this really justifiable? None of them also seem that manic. It just seems like a bunch of suburban kids that are just like, mad. It's very odd. And then to even have the idea that like every child in town overpowered all of the adults that were around. Really? So after the guy gets hung, they take over the police station, and all of the adults in town are in a jail cell. Every single adult got overpowered by a child. Even if they had weapons, you might get stabbed kidnapped or whatever. She's not just a gang up on like a couple of. I mean, like I feel like whatever. So Fuckface, Crybaby, Bo, and two irrelevant girls are standing there, and Bo really feels like she needs to take action whenever her dad looks at her and says, "Bo, do something." It's like one of those things where you're like, oh, I guess I should do something, shouldn't I, Dad? So then they get into a nice little like, well, we have to do something now. And the fuckface kid's like, all right, fine, let's do it. We have to stop this. And he starts just running and immediately screaming, and a child hits him in the back with a baseball bat, and then another kid just fucking hits him right in the face with a metal bat, and he's dead. And it's like, okay, well, that's that. Little Jay Leno puts on a gas mask. She gassed the parents, or the adults, just like, the little kids in the Bible, if you remember that. And this is the funniest part of the movie. This is whenever I had a pretty big laugh. They gas the adults, and then they all wake up in that pit from earlier that they were covering with blood. It's a massive pit, and all the adults are like, I mean, the pit's like 8 deep. And they're like, oh, you little bitch, whatever, all this thing. And then the kids just take a bulldozer and they like bury them alive. But none of the adults just kind of lay there and take it. They're like, no. Let me tell you something. With a pit that big, it would take, hours to fill. Like, realistically, with one bulldozer, to actually pack it down and fill it up all the way, it would take hours with one machine. So I feel like one scoop, couldn't the adults just like stand up on the dirt and just like get out? But no, it's just a hilarious montage of the buckets pouring dirt. It's just really funny. It's so stupid. God, it was so funny. So everybody dies, and Bo is just crying and not doing anything the whole time, and then she has a moment where it's an up front angle. So it's like, oh, she's determined to make a difference now. But nothing really comes of it. She's still just kind of crying. And we go back to the police station now. Apparently they left 4 adults there. The pastor's one of them. We find out he's a pedophile. Big shocker, and they stab out his eyeballs. The dad and them, Bo convinces them to let him out to the cornfield, because I think Bo thinks that the monster's made up. She's like, hide. Go hide in the cornfield, Dad. I'm sure it's fine out there. So then Bo and Jay Leno and all those kids, they go to the town hall again. It's just the same set pieces. They just said, we have these for 2 days, so we need to use the most that we can. Go back, and the reporter from earlier, if you remember that, she's there chained up now. Eden's wanting to cut off her head, and then Bo's like, no, we should take her to the corn.
Send her into the corn.
And then little Jay Leno's like, why don't we take her there by itself? So they all carry her very awkwardly. It's like one of her legs, it's kind of weird. I don't know how they have the shot of them carrying her. I was like, carry her to the barn, and they change her up facing the opposite way at the entrance to the barn. And then Bo kind of has a heart-to-heart with the little girl, who Eden calls out. She says, he who walks, whatever, come here, and if you're hungry, if you want this girl. And nothing really happens, and it's like a moment where it's us, the audience, I think are supposed to be like, oh, she's crazy, there is no corn monster. But it's like, we ruined that earlier when we saw it. So we know it's there. Bo's sitting there, and she's like, Eden, it's not real. It's not real. And she grabs really quick and threatens to cut her throat. But then you hear big T-Rex footsteps from Jurassic Park. And then she just lets Eden go, and then the reporter gets dragged out, and you get a really funny helpmate. And she's getting dragged away by this giant cornstalk monster. They don't fully show the cornstalk monster because I think they're waiting for a better reveal than that. But for Bo's impotence, or her lack of loyalty, they cover her in gasoline, and then to get away from them, all Bo has to do is, with her wet gasoline hand, she throws her arms, and they get kind of wet, and they're like, ah! And then she runs off. Bo runs all the way up to the cornfield, back to the silo from the beginning, and there's the car. But from over there, you hear the reporter being like, help me! She gets dragged up, and then the 12-foot-tall corn monster tears her in half. Why did you just not tear her in half at the barn? Why did you have to do it? And he doesn't even eat her. He's just like, tears her in half, and he just like walks into the cornfield. It's like gay. And preface earlier also, Fuckface Kid also said that there's a gas leak. Foreshadowing! They put all their foreshadowing in that spot. So she starts to drive away out of the cornfield, and then the car dies, and then we find out that Eden's in the back seat somehow.
Hi, Bubba.
She comes up and she has one of those cattle guns that kills the cattle, and then she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna kill you. And then Bo's like, no, can I have one night? She gets out of the car, and she's lighting it, and God, it's so boring. Just kill him already. Bo takes her cigarette, and then there was a gas leak from the car, and then she lights the gas on fire, and then it burns the cornfield.
Asma doesn't want you to be the cool mom. Triggers can pop up at
The cornfield gets set on fire, and then you see the barn explode, right? But it's thousands of acres of land, and not that much is on fire. And then from out of the cornfield, the corn monster is like on fire. He's like, and the girl's all upset. Eden's all upset. Little Jay Leno is like, oh, dang it. So they both walk into the cornfield together while it's on fire. And then when it cuts to them on fire, like the whole landscape is on fire, and all the children just kind of show up at the end. And then nothing happens. We cut to, it's a literal cut. Bo is in the burnt cornfield, and she sees Jay Leno's ring, and then she like sympathizes. She feels bad for this like horrible little girl, but then she sees Eden's boots, and Eden's face is all melted off, and her head busts open, and Corn attacks her. Don't worry, I think everybody dies in corn. And that's the end of the movie. Nothing ever dies in the corn. Remember that line from earlier? But there's just a lot of questions. The angry brother, there wasn't any resolution. Is he just still angry? What happened to all the kids? Why is there no firefighter, even from a town over? Think about an entire cornfield, how much smoke that would cause. That would be national attention, or like at least like statewide attention or something like that. It was just really funny. I hope the clips can justify how funny this movie is. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not funny enough bad, but if you're with some like buddies and you are drinking or something like that, and you want a movie that you can just like banter with, I think this is like a funny movie. It's very upsetting, just because of how stupid it is. But be warned, my friends, this is one of the most boring movies I've ever seen in my life. I think it's the worst reimagining I've ever seen. I remember one of the questions I even said was Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey better than this movie? And I was under the impression it was. Children of the Corn 2023, I think it is going to be officially the worst movie of the year. We're still kind of early into the year, we'll see, but wow. Horrible. Just horrible. You know what I hate about corn though, is that when you eat it, it just is in your poop. It's a process. And I like corn, I don't mind corn and everything, but I hate pooping it out because it's just gross. It's like, why didn't I get digested? I hate looking at that corn on the cob. Like a poopy corn on the cob. Whenever I poop. That's good.
World, the time has come to push the button. World, the time has come to push the button.
Welcome back to the Papa Beat channel. How you doing? How you doing? Come on in and sit on down. Today, I just got done watching Evil Dead Rise. Which, if you haven't heard of the Evil Dead franchise, let me tell you, it started in the early 80s. Take me. Sam Raimi directs probably one of the most influential B horror films of all time, Evil Dead. So the original Evil Dead is about a bunch of friends going out, having a good weekend, trying to get their sucked everything, you know what I mean? Essentially, Bruce Campbell's character, Ash, is having the time of his life, and then somebody finds some evil, spooky tapes, presses record, and turns out the guy was doing experiments, like weird rituals out here with his family. And all hell breaks loose. People die, people get resurrected, and demons happen, and you see Bruce Campbell cut off his arm, he uses a chainsaw. And for the sequel, he was just like, I'm just gonna make the same movie, except this time, bigger budget. It's going more into slapstick range of, you know, comedy and stuff like that. It's kind of the exact same thing, except way better in my opinion in the second movie, except I think you get rid of all the friends. So it's just Bruce Campbell and his sweet hunt thing. You know, cuts off his hand again, makes the little chainsaw thing. Big chainsaw, that's gonna be a reoccurring theme. Army of Darkness, goes back in time. Don't really talk about that, it's not really relevant. And Sam Raimi kind of took like a big fat little bit of a break. He made some Spider-Man movies, some Spidey-Man movies. He made that movie Drag Me to Hell. And then he did Doctor Strange. Oh my word, it's raining outside. It's so wet. And so am I over today's sponsor, Bad Dragon Toys! You know, the kind. This is for mommies and daddies only. If you're under the age of 18, then skip this ad, okay? Thank you. And Bad Dragon has been a great sponsor of this channel for the whole year so far. And I want all of my fans to go check out Bad Dragon if you're in the need for something spicy for your bedroom. They have been such a great sponsor. I love them. All of their products are fucking beautifully made, handcrafted to perfection. The quality is there. The company is so undeniably wholesome in such a weird way that I cannot stress to you how much I love this company and how much they have supported this channel and have been so good to us. So please, if you're in the market for something fun for yourself or for a significant other, please check it out. Maybe you can find something you like for yourself or for them. Or maybe you just experiment. Thank you, Bad Dragon, for sponsoring this video. We love you, for real. Bad Dragon, you are the fucking best. Kisses. Back to the video. So that brings us to 2013, the first official like reboot of the series. The Evil Dead franchise is very weird in that way. They don't really like, the only continuation of the story really is from Evil Dead 2 to Army of Darkness, and then they did like an Ash versus the Evil Dead series. So there's like, you know, there's some continuity, but really the core structure of the Evil Dead, which I think the Evil Dead fans like, is kind of the remedy of the Evil Dead movies, right? Cabin, group of friends, spooky ghosts, both bound in flesh, summon a demon, bad stuff happens, and demon dead. That's usually the Evil Dead remedy, which for me, I love it. You know, I don't think I've met many people who were like, I don't really like that movie. Even for me, I was pleasantly surprised by the 2013 Evil Dead. It's kind of fun. It's a girl who they're bringing her out there to do probably the most excruciating detox. She's a heroin addict, I think. She's a drug addict of some kind. And they're like, we're gonna literally trap you in the woods, okay? I don't know if that's probably the most appropriate way to go about that, but you know, to each his own. And it kind of follows the same tropes, and we get some different kind of stuff. But the biggest thing is that it's a newer age. We're not in the 80s anymore. This is like 2013. So special effects goes crazy. Very gruesome. It takes the gruesome nature of the 80s and elevates it once more. And this time you're like, okay, cool. I like this new girl. I like the situation going on here. Also, they missed the opportunity to play Raining Blood at the end of the movie. It literally rains blood. Perfect opportunity. I would say to a movie studio, I bet that song isn't that expensive. Would it have been cheesy? Yeah.
When I came to Notre Dame, I wanted to be a part of something more than just business as usual.
Sail Energy puts you in charge of how you get your oil, propane, and HVAC services, and what price you pay, based on your individual preferences. We've got amazing employees in Central Maine just waiting to impress you. Act now and save up to $250 this year. Your fuel, your comfort, your way.
And that brings us basically to now. I think everything Evil Dead has touched has been pretty good. I mean, pretty fucking solid. It's a fun series. You know, it's that you know what you're going into, and that's all that really matters because you're there to have fun, because you like the names, you like the brand. And I think Evil Dead Rise, I think it holds up to the brand name. So before we go into the rating, I'm going to say spoilers here. And if you want a general rating for it, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. All right, spoils time. The movie introduces us. They do a nice fake out thing at the beginning when we start on the lake. So you're kind of like, oh, here we go again. Oh, another cabin. But it turns out that it's the day before the actual movie. 24 hours before. Not a lot of time really in 24 hours, but it is what it is. But I will say that I was like, oh, okay, very good. I mean, I saw the trailers. I knew what was going on. But it was still nice to be like, okay, we're not in the middle of nowhere. We're in LA area-ish with a very progressive family. This is another thing. There's a couple new things that happen in this movie that I think is kind of important and cool to do, I guess. One, we're not in a cabin, we're in a city, in an apartment. Two, they've introduced children to the mix. Usually before it's just teenagers and they're trying to... But this one, it's kids and a family. And then 3, they've kind of stripped away the traditional family that's also been there before. Usually beforehand, the family that was there was like, I'm the father, and I'm the conservative mom, and I'm the sweetheart daughter kind of thing. In this one, it's a single mom. Her husband just left her. Her sister, who is a guitar tech, just learned she's pregnant. And the mom, who is single, has 3 children, a trans boy, and 2 daughters. It's a progressive family thing. And I know that people are going to see this and they're going to be like, oh, God, this movie's woke. Fuck off. It's a more new age, new kind of thing. We're not taking any of the tropes from the past. We're trying something completely new. That's refreshing. That's fun. Why keep rehashing all the same stuff? Like, I saw people online complaining like, oh, Bruce Campbell's not the movie. There's not even Evil Dead. If Ash isn't here to put the chainsaw all in his hand, then why the fuck am I going? And the answer to that is to try new things. Isn't that fun? Say we can try new things. It's cool to have the same kind of formula, but just mix up the elements a little bit. It's still the same thing. Just kind of, you have your mixing bowl here and you just do one of these kind of things. It's fun. But let's get into the actual meat of the movie. It's an interesting experience. I feel like a lot of times I was like, oh, I don't know about that. Ooh, that's fun. Ooh, okay. It felt very, not even polarizing. It was just like a lot of like dumb things happen, but a lot of cool stuff happens too. It's very odd. One of the big things at the beginning is like just a lot of red herrings. You ever see a movie where it's just like a character does something and you're like, yes, I see that. That's gonna be applicable later on in the movie. That's red herring, right?
It's more like Chekhov's gun.
Basically, things happen, like characters are doing obvious things that the director is like, hey, remember that? Okay. And then later on, the thing happens, and he's like, see? It's a full circle! You know, it is what it is, but if you're being critical, it's just, like, very distracting. When somebody, like, goes in and, like, they stop and they're clicking the thing, and they're like, God, this dang garage just doesn't want to open. You're kind of like, I wonder if they're gonna have issues with the garage later. There's one incident where the neighbor comes out, he's just like, my damn cats are in the vents! My cats are in the vents! They go all over people's apartments! My cats are up there. My cat is one of those things, once again, you're just like, I hope nothing gets into the vents and gets inside the apartment. Oh yeah, then the wood chipper, they pull in and you see a giant wood chipper. There's an earthquake, we'll get to that in a sec. The wood chipper thing opens and the character's like, the wood chipper gate opened. This industrial grade wood chipper that's parked in an apartment garage. What the hell? There's a moment like, I'm not gonna go through all of it, but there's quite a bit of more. It sure would be crazy if that wood chipper turned on some point in the movie. I bet you we're gonna put somebody's body in bed. Okay. Just like, I mean, I don't know. Just to like set some of the stuff up. The mom is with the kids, they're alone there. And the building that they're living in is supposed to be demolished in a month. And there's still tons of families living in there as if the building isn't getting demolished in a month. It's like another thing where I was like, why is there so many people living in this like fucking demolished building? And then you have the mom's sister coming in because she's a cool guitar tech and she's preggers. She's a guitar tech. This is totally gonna not vibe with my career. I'm not ready to be a mom. But the guitar tech sister doesn't realize that the mom and her husband have been split up, so they have a serious conversation. They say, kids, go get some pizza. Me and your dad have to talk. And they go to ship them off to get some pizza.
Holy.
Evil Dead's really cool. It's a good movie. Did I upset you, Sam Raimi? Oh my God, that was crazy. Jesus fucking Christ. I said I liked it. I liked the movie. I don't know why you're pissed off at me, dude. Jesus. Like I'm saying it as if he's dead, he's alive. Sam Raimi dies and he sits in his chair and his ghost goes and haunts everybody who doesn't like the movie. God, what is that even on? Oh yeah, so the kids go get the pizza. But while they're gone, there's a big earthquake. That happens. Just like how my room here almost exploded from the lightning. Remember that? I really hope that gets picked up in the footage. I thought
you could see the...
Yeah, you can see the light. They're probably going to see a giant splash right here. Good fucking Lord. But essentially there's a giant earthquake and this cracks the foundation of this parking garage. And as the kids are walking back with their pizza, the big earthquake happens. They're all crazy and scared. And then the brother or whatever sees that there is a hole in the garage. And he's like, yeah, there's a hole over here. And he's like, it's a bank vault. And he goes down there, which forgive my ignorance, but it's just like their apartments don't come from the bank. And then you get down there and it's like all religious paraphernalia. Like there's tons of crosses and he's like, yeah, this thing has been open for like 100 years. I'm like, what bank is this? It's like the Catholic Church bank. Essentially, they kind of speed through it. There's some spooky moments, there's some crosses and stuff. They find the LPs. Oh, that's another kind of thing with that earlier. And he's like, I'm a DJ. That was just one of those things. He's like, oh my God, I found some sweet LPs. And I'm like, that's convenient. But essentially, he grabs the LPs, he grabs the books, and he brings it up to his house, and all hell breaks loose. He tries opening up the book like a fucking ape. The binding of the book has his teeth. He's like, let me whip at these sharp teeth. He crinkles his hand, and blood gets the other one. It's a little farther away, thank God. But essentially, the finger gets pricked, just like in Evil Dead fashion. A little bit of blood gets into the book, and it kind of starts the whole ritual. It plays the LP, and it says the typical ritual seance, and the demon possesses the mom. And I will say that right now, that the mom actor gives the strongest performance. I like even just the mom as the demon. It's just really good. Really creepy, great line deliveries and stuff. They do a lot of callbacks. Like when she gets possessed, it's very reminiscent of like every tree scene before in the Evil Dead series, where it's like she gets strung up, but instead of this time, it's typically thank God. That's where we really start to pole vault ourselves forward into this movie. She comes in, she starts doing some crazy stuff, starts attacking people, she gets the big montage of craziness that you should go see. But I will say, with the Evil Dead thing, you want to see if the kills are there. How fun are the kills? And the kills are great. They utilize the aspect of children in a good way, because they usually a lot of times, especially American audiences, if it's a kid's movie, you're like about 90% of the time, you're like, yeah, dude, something's gonna happen to that kid. But luckily in this one, spoilers, there's a lot of death. It's fun. A lot of people getting hurt, a lot of fucking screaming, crying, all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of emotional depth that even just like being, and I could be the American side of myself, but there's a lot of like emotional depth of just like the innocence of a child and having that like nurtured or doing whatever. So I, just going off that merit, you're just kind of like, good for you for going there. The little girl, she survived, but I think that if they would have done anything to kill the little girl, I think they were probably fighting the NC-17 rating. I wonder how much of a lot of the creative decisions in this were because of that. If you go too far, you risk losing the R rating, and I think they won't even let you show that in theaters at NC-17 or like select theaters or something. So we get a lot of great kills or great interactions. Cheese grater to the leg. That's a rough one. There's a part where the mom has her tattoo gun because the mom is a tattoo artist and she's getting ready to tattoo her daughter's eyeball, and the daughter like turns her cheek and she tattoos her cheek, and it looks brutal, but at the same time I'm like, man, come on, just go there, tattoo the fucking little girl's eye. It's dangling right there, and it's like, want to be like, oh, I'm just kidding. And I just was like, fuck it, tattoo her eye, and then she's like, her eye is just filled with like black ink. It's fucking brutal. But they still tattoo her cheek and do a bunch of other shit, so it's like, from there, there's like a bunch of like crazy things, people getting stabbed. A lot of the residents on the other side of the floor, they all get killed in a very fun way. You see it all through the peephole of the apartment looking in. And it kind of, it does feel kind of cheap because you want to have more. I wanted to have more with the people on the floor. You get to see a child get his arm ripped off and thrown in. A guy gets his fucking face bit and she sucks out his eyeball. But then it's kind of like I said, it's one of those moments where you're like, ooh! And then she spits the eyeball in the kid's mouth and he chokes on it and that's how he dies. What? Like literally, she's like, he's like, it's like a fucking like 2000 movie. It's like Freddy Got Fingered or something like that. That's what it felt like. They don't do enough to warrant the comedy like an Evil Dead 2, where it's like very over the top and goofy. Like the blood is just so over the top that it's comical. It's like they are trying to take it seriously, but then they try to introduce some comedy, but it just comes off kind of, cringe. A lot of great moments though. I mean, just like the mom throwing up, she throws up like an obnoxious amount of what looks like milk. Like, it's all over the place and she falls in it. It's just gross. The sound is disgusting. It's just a lot of fun. Watching all of the horribly violent stuff in this film is just a really good time. I mean, like, it's weird saying that because I'm just like, yeah, I wish the little girl died. I don't really think that I'd say that with my wife, but at the same time, I'm like, if we're in this ride together, kind of like, even something like a Terrifier 2 where it's just like a sadistic clown. They don't pull back anything. They kind of just always are like, this is just what he does, and like whoever's in his way is gonna, get tore up. It isn't just like an innocent death. It's like gruesome, violating mess. But in return, it makes it comical because of how just over the top it is. It's just so grandiose and stupid that it works out. In this one, I just feel like there's a lot of little moments where it could have had something really brutal or fun or even visually fun happen, but they kind of pull back just for the sake of being like, well, it's a kid. Which I get it, but we're in playing the game. Just do what we baby. A lot of the cinematography felt really great. A lot of times when it's something like, one of those callbacks of like, oh, I'm a tattoo artist. This is my tattoo gun. Better watch out. It's painful. There would be like kind of a moment where you're like, okay. But then a new shot would come in, and there's just a lot of artistic inspiration with how things are framed up, the angles we use, like really trying to sink in and like be as creative and as like fun to look at as possible. Like each little frame that we get to go in, like there's a great scene where the mom's sister is putting her hand in the water, but we do kind of a fun, like almost callback to when Freddy puts his hand out of the water in Nightmare on Elm Street, and it just looks really great. And all the callbacks, because I feel like there was a couple different callbacks, like the ones that are notable are The Shining, the elevator door, squirting out blood at the end, and then also even, a bit of a stretch here, but the way the mom even like bites this guy's face and sucks out his eye felt very reminiscent of From Beyond. Little stuff like that. It's like it's not like it's not as egregious as like naming the building like Romero Drive or something, where it's like, this one's for you, George Romero. We're fans. It just feels like fun ways to kind of introduce an already like established brand in like the horror community and kind of showing love in other ways, which I thought was kind of cool, but just very artistic and beautiful moments, and like just really a lot of these scenes too, the way they're staged, the way they flow throughout this apartment, because it's this open concept kind of apartment, we're able to kind of like sway through the apartment and really build a lot of great tension and anxiety just through the corridors and the spaces that we're given. It's just a lot of fun. I think that's really well executed. Pretty cool. Whenever you do these remakes, you have to justify like, what was different? Where have we evolved in these processes of like, yes, Evil Dead film, but what do they do different? What do they do new? And with this one, it was kind of cool that at the end, spoilers. You guys want to, I keep resetting. I've already said it once, so fuck you. At the end, the mom's like limbs are all ripped up, and the daughter's like the son and the daughter are both possessed, and only the aunt and the little girl are alive. And the son and daughter crawl inside of the mom, and it creates this like really fun kind of like demonic monster. It's not practical. They were much stronger separated, I'm pretty sure. But the mom does get her leg and arm blown off. So I think the justification was like, this puts the mom still in a threatening position. And then it's also like a weird thing with like connectivity and family. And your family is now conjoined into a monster attacking you. The only complaint that I had with that, because visually I think it looks really fun. It's very body horror and John Carpenter, the Thing-esque, with having all these things combined, kind of like the dog in that movie. Which oddly, once again, feels like a little bit of a callback. I don't know. But I wish we would have had like more. We just kind of get them barely interacting with it. And that was like one of the problems that I had at the end of 2013's Evil Dead. When the giant hell monster comes up, we get like 2 minutes with it, and then she just kills it, and it's over. Which is the same thing here, and it does end the same way that every Evil Dead film ends, with a chainsaw. And in this one, it is gory and fun and stupid and over the top, and that's cool with them getting put into the wood chipper. Remember the wood chipper? They get put in the wood chipper, and then the girl takes a chainsaw and like stabs it through her head and all that stuff. Kind of the same old, same old. Like I kind of wish that just don't even put the chainsaw in there. You're already doing so many new things. Why you don't need the chainsaw? And luckily there wasn't a part 2 where like Bruce Campbell was like the pizza man. He's like special delivery, and people could be like, oh, Bruce. But I bet you he's somewhere in this. I feel like people are gonna be like, actually, he was the homeless man outside the building or something like that. You know what I mean? I bet there's something like that. But all in all, the movie is just good fun. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Evil Dead is a franchise I hold to my heart. Is this the perfect remake or sequel or whatever? No, but like it hit the marks it needed to hit, which is fun kills, good creepy acting, a fun-paced movie. Yeah, there was a lot of obnoxious jump scares. The movie also was lit kind of dark. Did you feel it? Just like dark. It was kind of hard to see. So I don't know if it was just the projection of ours or not, but a lot of the jump scares were pretty annoying. Just like two over the top and too many consecutively. Fucking hurt my ears after a while. I don't know if that's just my old manness, but I'm just like, my God, turn it down! Turn it down! Like freaking out. It hit all the things that I wanted it to hit as an Evil Dead fan, and I think that if you're an Evil Dead fan, you're gonna dig it. And it's a new take on something new. If it's your first time into the series, I would highly, highly, highly recommend going back and watching like Evil Dead 2, and then even the 2013 remake to kind of see how they redid everything. And especially Evil Dead. I mean, Evil Dead 1, of course, but Evil Dead 2, I think, is just it's Sam Raimi at perfection. It's, dare I say, the best new horror film of all time. Evil Dead 2. I would probably put it up there. All in all, 7 out of 10. I think it's a fun movie to see. I think that if you don't have anything going on this weekend, go check it out. And I think if you're fun busy, I think you should go see it anyways. Horror fans are eating good right now. If you love horror, go support the movie. Be sure to, go support your local movie theater. Come on. Go fuck with it. If I had a horror film and there were children in it, I would make it an orphanage. And I would kill all the children. The more people survive, that's God being like, you say what now?
You might consider sitting this one out.
I don't know.
I have active psoriatic arthritis, but with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, count me in. Along with clearer skin, Skyrizi helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And it's just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use Allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu.
Welcome back to the Papa Meat channel. How you doing? How you doing? Come on and sit on down. Today I did another ranking video where we sit down and watch all the movies in a franchise in a row. And today it was Insidious. James Wan's Insidious. Blumhouse's Insidious. Yay! The first movie came out around 2010. If you weren't around those times, if you were just still a son of your dad's big hairy, let me tell you how it was. This movie blew up super, super big, and I think this is like one of the first movies, this along with The Purge, were like the 2 Blumhouse movies that were like extreme commercial successes, and it really paved the way of what the Blumhouse method would be, which is make a movie for next to nothing in the grand scheme of things, and then make like $100+ million in profit. Which the first Insidious, even I was shocked. Looking it up, $1.5 million for the first one, and it made $100 million in the box office. Crazy. And this movie, I think it's like ranked ranked as the scariest film ever, based off of like participants' like heartbeat, like their heart racing or whatever. So I was curious because the fifth one, The Red Door, that comes out soon, it still got me thinking. I haven't watched these movies in forever. Why not roll down memory lane and see how these movies hold up? Which there are 4: Insidious 1, Insidious Chapter 2, Insidious Chapter 3, and then Insidious 4, which is the Last Key, which is the last key. Sounds like a Chronicles of Narnia book. And those are the 4. So I thought, you know what? It's not as crazy as the Paranormal Activity. It's not as crazy as Final Destination number. So you know what? Let's give it a shot. And watching through these, it's remarkable how, in my opinion, how poorly, not only have these aged, but how bad every script of this series is. It's pretty remarkable, actually. It's pretty unbelievable how cheesy the scripts get, which I'll try to give examples, cite my sources along the way. But without further ado, what's the worst Insidious film? Easy, Insidious Chapter 3.
Make 2025 count and jumpstart your education with Sophia. This January, take 20% off your first month.
Are you longing for more TMNT content? Maybe some of the fun, goofier sides of the 90s TMNT costumes, or even some of the new cutting-edge animation with Mutant Mayhem? Well, my friend, you're in luck with Match Masters. Match Masters is a mobile game that shakes up everything you know about match games by pitting you head-to-head against friends or opponents around the world in a race to score most points before the time runs out. Clean out your game plan over the course of rounds and use powerful boosters to your advantage to swing the match in your favor. Ooh, Match Masters has me so excited I can't stop playing. And right now is the best time to play because it has some excellent features like TMNT emotes and new outfits for your avatar. Plus, there's also over 40 TMNT stickers to collect, and of course, special limited time TMNT. And then so much turtle power. So use the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description below to download Match Masters and get free limited edition TMNT game items when you do. And thank you, Match Masters, for sponsoring this video, and of course, back to the video. Insidious Chapter 3 is like the first movie that branches away from the normal family. I already forgot what their names were. The Lamberts. What was the name of the old bitch? Elise. I'm pretty sure after the second movie, Elise, the old woman, her name is Lynn Shay. She's fucking amazing. She's also in Detroit Rock City as the super Christian mom, and she's also the hotel landlord, and she does a very disgusting pussy eating scene because Woody Harrelson has to eat her pussy out in Kingpin, which is a great boy. She's born with this crazy gift that her husband killed himself, and she's been locked away in her house forever. So this is her getting back out into the game of helping people through paranormal activities, as it were. Yeah, it's kind of like a, what kind of tale is it? I don't know. It's a fucking movie where the bitch comes back and she starts working again. It's like Big Mama's House. It's a Big Mama's House, the fucking horror movie, except it doesn't track at all. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter. Lynn Shay is pretty much the rock of the Insidious franchise. I think that as soon as, spoilers, they figured out that we really shouldn't have killed her off, they decided to just do a kind of a fresh reset and do a prequel series in Chapter 3, which whenever I was watching it, I was like, why would we call it Chapter 3 then? It's like, if anything, can't it just be like Insidious at the beginning? It was just odd to me. But this movie focuses on a girl who's distraught about her mother dying, and she wants to talk to her mom, and she reaches out to Elise because some crazy spooky stuff has been happening, and everybody goes to Elise because she's like a ghostbuster. That's basically the whole movie, except in this movie, I think, to be fair, for the ranking system, we should also go off how good the antagonist is, which is usually like a ghost or a demon of some sort. I think that'll play into the score as well, because I just think that feels right? Which in the third one, spoilers once again, which, who the fuck is watching this? The big demon's like a bird guy. It looks like he has a beak on, but it's really like a gas mask. And the whole idea is that our main character, Quinn, I was fucking right, it was James Bond, wasn't it? Yeah, Quinn, she gets basically trapped in this limbo where half of her, she gets hit by a car, which is the best part of the movie. The rest of the movie is just kind of forgettable, except there's this one part where she kicks her shins on like the edge of a bed, and then when she's walking, you can hear her broken legs like brittly breaking as she takes steps. It's very gruesome and fucking awesome, but her getting hit by the car is just, you know, it was out of nowhere. It doesn't make any sense because you would have seen lights, heard the car coming. It's just blatantly out of nowhere, and that makes it pretty fun. But in this one, it's like half of her soul is taken by a demon, and they have to get the other half back. And her other half of her soul is like a vegetable. She's basically just like a fucking like brain dead mutant. And they're like, we need to get this half of you back. I feel like, why don't you just leave it? I mean, what good is this to have? Like an eyeless fucking like drone of a person. Just leave them, let them have it. Because the bird, I keep saying bird, was it even like really a leaf? It's just a gas mask, or it's like an oxygen mask. This like demon with an oxygen mask is like coddling her, and you know, it's like he wants her to stay with him forever. And you know, kind of creepy or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's still just really stupid. And I was just like, just leave it. What the fuck? Like, you can exist with half a soul, I imagine. But at least in this one, we get more of her, which this really the Insidious series could be called a couple different things, which is doors creak, violins squeal, or a person gets choked. Because that happens a lot in every single film. You are going to see Lin Shaye get choked out.
What is that? Leave the old ways behind.
Useless artifact now.
With the elastic AI.
Out of all 4 movies, I think there's at least 30 minutes of Lin Shaye getting choked, which is a lot. In the grand scheme of like having that be on camera, that's a long time. But I mean, I don't know. It's just the story isn't very strong. It's just really stupid. The Insidious franchise is also really bad about their final acts are always super like kind of just like. They just throw it out there like that, and they're like, that's the end. Oh, we dealt with the monster, which a lot of times too, actually almost every time, I feel like the way they solve the monster is they hit it with a lantern. Usually whenever people get hit in this movie, they fly 70 feet back, but then if a demon gets hit, they fly like really far into spooky darkness. But all in all, I mean, like, it's like kind of a forgettable movie, really. I mean, I know this is the worst rated one out of the franchise, and I know this is the one that made the least amount of money, but I mean, still, it made like a huge profit. This is extremely successful commercialized series. So, like, none of them flopped, you know, that's not the case. But in terms of, like, you know, rewatchability, this movie was just a fucking bore. You know, a lot of moments dozing off, which granted, this is the third one in the franchise, so we were kind of tired to begin with watching it. But in this movie also, let's have like a nice docket of what happens. Lin Shaye does get strangled. That's what that up there. You see the spooky demon fall into a cartoon circle pit when Lin Shaye does like a force stomp. He like falls through the bottom of the floor. That's pretty cool. Dermot Mulroney, the dad from Screen 6, is in it, and he's just as terrible as he is in Screen 6 in this movie, so that tracks pretty well. You do see people get smacked and they fly 70 feet, so that's fun too. So yeah, it has all those normal nuances of what we need to do. And it does feel like, in a way, like they do like the upside down. I feel like Stranger Things a lot from this series. Do you feel the same or no? At least the first season. The first season of Stranger Things feels very reminiscent. Like, when I was watching back, I was like, oh, this feels like the first season of trying to get that fucking kid. The kid who's like comatose or whatever. They're like, we have to go the upside down and fight zombies or aliens or whatever the fuck it is. Demigorgons. Insidious Chapter 3, bottom of the list. By far. Stinker. Coming in hot at number 3 is Insidious Chapter 2. I feel like Insidious Chapter 2 really could have been last. In a lot of ways, it feels like Halloween 2, where the first one was such a success that they're like, there is no possible way we're not going to just make a second one. And we don't care how bad it is, we're gonna do it. And it might not make any sense at all, but that's what we're doing. And that's kind of how this felt, because the first movie ends on a bit of a cliffhanger where you're like, ooh. But this whole movie is a response to that cliffhanger, and it's just all kind of very forgettable. Really, it's the worst monster in all of them, which is just the dad getting possessed by the Black Bride ghost named Mary Lee. The ghost's name is like Mary Lee or something. What is that? Anyways, it's like a ghost named Mary Lee, but it's a guy. You find out it's a guy because his mom freaked out because he's like, oh, her dad abandoned the family and she like had a fucking mental breakdown. And basically the kid dresses like his mom and kills it. It feels very Red Dragon to me. Have you ever seen the movie Red Dragon? That's like a prequel to Silence of the Lambs, and that's all about the same thing, which is also basically a rehash of Psycho. Crazy kid kills people. But the whole thing is that this murderer has now become like a demon and kills people. It has some interesting moments where the dad's possessed and he turns on people and you see Patrick Wilson beat the shit out of people. That's kind of fun. And kind of like it's slowly aging too, which is kind of funny. It's like, I'm old, everything's fine. It's
kind of funny because how he's gaslighting his wife. They just went through that episode of Haunted. He's like, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, so in this movie it's very funny because Patrick Wilson, Mr. Lambert, is gaslighting the shit out of his wife the whole time, which Insidious Chapter 2 just feels like I gaslight my wife. That's what it should be called. I think it's been like a month since the last movie or something in terms of time that's passed, and still shit is just going on crazy. And his family has moved like 4 times in the last 3 months, and she's like, yeah, there's still crazy shit happening. He's like, would you just get over it? Like, it's done. Like, leave it alone already. It's fine. The whole time. Once again, this movie, if it wasn't so kind of stupid and funny, I feel like it would be last place because it's so bad. But it's so bad in the way that, like, it's so obvious that he's, like, possessed. And like, feel like everybody should just be like, oh, he's possessed. And it's also funny because he's not in prison after he just strangled Elise in the first movie. So it's just this man walking free and people are just like, yep, an old woman died by a strangle thing. It matches your husband's handprints immediately. We'll figure it out. You're like, what? Okay. You know, and in the Insidious movie, it's a lot of astral projecting, right? Astral projecting, which is where, like, your spirit can go into the different dimensions or through the universe or whatever and talk to dead people. Ooh. In this movie, there's a part where Elise's old partner, Carl, who comes back and helps, he has a big pocket full of dice the whole movie. It's like the most obnoxious thing. He's like walking around being like, oh, what's the blood? Should I eat a hot pocket? He like rolls it. It's a big jumbling of words. He just like makes his own conclusions. So sometimes it rolls into a word, but the majority of the time he's just like, oh my god, it says miengo. That's probably something. That probably means yes, so I should just eat the hot pocket, I guess. But he gets bitch slapped or he gets hit. He gets supposedly killed somehow, and he shows up in the spirit dimension to meet Patrick Wilson, and she's like, well, shit, I guess I'm dead. They're walking around the dark, and they find Elise, and she's like an angel now. Like, kind of like walking around being like, I was in heaven, but I decided to come back and help you. And they're like, that's awesome. And she's like, but by the way, Carl, you're still alive. I feel your heartbeat, which is just funny because it's like, when I hit my head, did I just astral project automatically? Was there just a button I pressed? So it's pretty fun. Once again, Insidious right on cue. It has one of the worst endings, which is just Elise looking at nothing, being like, oh my god. Which I think we're gonna know what that means in this last movie or in the newest movie coming out, but we'll see. I mean, you know, when they made this was literally a decade ago, so I don't know how they're gonna wrap it up with that, but it's pretty good. Which, you know, and as a little intermission right here, Insidious, the franchise as a whole, not even one particular movie, that's why I didn't really include it into my rating. All of the scripts are extremely poorly written. Like, I don't think you can blame the actor, I just think it's really bad. It's a bad script and probably like a one-take Willie. That's how I felt a lot of times. They're just like, we got it, it's fine. We only have $75,000 to make this movie, but don't worry, guys, we're gonna make $160 million in the box office. So it'll be good, I promise. No one's gonna care. People who are showing up to watch Insidious in the theaters, they're not gonna care about this. They're just gonna be like, when's the next ghost movie? I want more ghosts. I didn't include that into the rating because it's just across the board. It's like, yeah, there might be some that are worse than others, but it's just a mess all around. Like, you catch yourself sitting there being like, that's what we settled on? That was also the take we took? Okay, that's fine. Pretty silly. But now we're moving up into the big leagues. Usually it takes us a while to get in the top 3, but I think the top 2 is better. What's coming in at number 2 for me personally is Insidious Chapter 1. Or just Insidious 1, this is the beginning of the franchise. You know, we get to settle in with the Lamberts for the first time. And like I said, this is supposed to be the scariest movie ever, I think is what I read, based off people's heart rates, which is that one scene where they're in like a dining room and then there's this spooky devil behind.
I want to do my part to do something that is sustainable.
If I see a problem, you just ask a question and you bring people.
Patrick Wilson's head. That's iconic. And, you know, the whole movie is pretty, like, I think so many people copied the format of what this was. James Wan had success with Saw before this, but, like, I feel like this was the thing that really catapulted him into being like, oh, everything I make is going to make hundreds of millions of dollars and it will cost essentially nothing. Because he just found a great way to be like, let's rent out a house and just we'll just creak doors open. And it worked. You have to give it, I mean, he's doing something right. Credit where credit is due. James Wan. Even though I think Malignant's still the best thing he's made because it's just so stupid. I think he tried to make something really cool that came off as like the most expensive B horror film of all time, which is sick. And I think it made probably the least amount of money of any of his films. So good on you, James Wan. Love you. This film has like a lot of the iconic shit where it's like you start to see that archetype from James Wan's movie where it's like giant, like Victorian house, huge house. And the dad, Patrick Wilson, is a public school teacher, and the wife is a stay-at-home mom. Then the property is probably like, I mean, this has to be like a $25 million house in California. I mean, it's fucking massive. It's like as distracting as like watching like a sitcom like New Girl, where it's like, aren't they all like poor, but yet they live in like this $70,000 a month loft. It's like in the grand scheme of things, it's like who cares? That's just where they live. But it's just distracting to me. And then it's even more distracting because then they have enough equity to just move like 2 times in the movie, like move houses. Because I think that they're like, well, why don't we just move out? Like that's like a big thing that people say. But I was moving there, I just moved. So I think that James Wan was probably like, hey, we should have a move real quick. And then they still. You're like, you know what, this house is probably haunted too, let's go to another one. So it's like a bunch of different hauntings, and James Wan's like, it's in the budget. I'm pretty sure public school, James Wan's so successful at this point that he's like, I'm pretty sure public school teachers probably make like $7 million a year, right? That sounds about right, I think, to me. You have that archetype star, you also have that fucking, like, the violin. Happens so much in this movie. It's become like a big TikTok sound too. It's like, it's so grating. By this point, it's been done so much to where it's like really hard. It's like listening to like Highway to Hell by AC/DC, where you're just like, oh fuck, I can't. Like not new. I simply cannot anymore. And then also the Tiptoe. What the fuck is Tiny Tim? That song. The only reason that people think that song is creepy is because Insidious put it in the movie and made it all creepy. Some pretty major things happen that kind of have shaped kind of like horror in general for the past, like, I mean, almost 15 years. That's just kind of crazy to think. So you have to give the film some props. At the end of the day, the script, once again, is so dated. Like, a lot of the scares are really dated. Watching the first one to the fourth one, which obviously there's going to be an evolution, watching, like, the first movie's jump scares compared to the last movie's jump scares, it's pretty crazy. Like, in the first film, when we do jump scares, it really holds finger on shit, and it completely takes all the wind of suspense and momentum out of the edit. So, like, all the jump scares feel super predictable. They don't feel earned. They feel kind of like very cheap, which the movie is only 1.5 minutes. Like, I'm not trying to say like it needs to be some crazy thing. The movie is just like, I mean, door creaking, loud noise, door creaking, loud noise, violin, ambiguous monster, violin, door creaking, loud noise, violin. That's how it feels. And then also, of course, don't forget Shay Strangle. Which, you know, in this movie too, to be fair, I think out of all the endings in the franchise, this is the strongest ending out of all of them. And I think that, like, it was the most inspired, where it leaves you on a cliffhanger, where it's like, what happened? Like, did the family die? Like, you know, what's going on? Which also becomes kind of a prominent thing too in like all of James Wan's movies, where it's like evil, crazy thing happens, they subdue the evil, but then there's like one little droplet of like, they plant the seed of evil one more time. Oops, it's not really over actually. There's still a ghost that's gonna strangle Lin Shaye. We have to keep strangling Lin Shaye no matter what we do. And like, you know, in terms of the monster in this one too, it's like a super iconic Red Devil thing. But I think that the reason that this one probably wasn't number 1 was because at the end of number 3 and 4, they do jump scares with the devil guy, because it's like a precursor to this film. But chapter 3, the ending is so egregiously bad that you can't take that monster seriously anymore. Just like it's like looks like a fucking like carnival character. Like you're like, okay, and it holds on for too long, and then it cuts. It's way too long. I'm gonna do that again. Like so Lin Shaye standing there, and then he comes in, he's like, and then it cuts. You know how long it is? It's a long time. Like, that's not a jump scare. That's like a, is this a new scene? And then it cuts off. And you're like, oh, okay. And then in the 4th movie, he's just kind of the window here. Which I know back in the day, I was super scared by the devil design. It's like interesting and simple and fun. It's kind of, it's like almost tribal, or it feels like something that would have come off like a wall painting or something, which is fun. I like that design. But all in all, Insidious 1, it's just, it's not the best one of the franchise. It's a watchable movie, but at the end of the day, it feels just so dated. It's just crazy. It's really unbelievable. It's pretty funny to see like how that archetype has just been completely, people have just stolen from that. James Wan has just, I mean, Insidious is a cow. now. He has milked that fucking thing. Dry, dude. But luckily, coming in at number 1 is Insidious Chapter 4, The Last Key, The Chronicles of Narnia, The Last Key. This movie came out 5 years after Chapter 3, which was the longest time between movies. Usually they're about 2 to 3 years between each movie. Chapter 3 was 2013, and Chapter 4 was 2015. And dramatically, the pacing of the movie is much stronger. This movie just follows basically, it's a sequel to Chapter 3, which is a prequel. So it's a sequel to that. And this movie's supposed to be like a
It's the commander and Johnson. They're closing on Troop's position, Chief. They'll need your help.